What is your role in SVS?
My name's Angelina Zulis. I'm a senior social work major, and my role in SVS this year is the president of Student Voluntary Services.
How effective do you think you are in the Muncie community?
Personally, I think that volunteers, especially volunteers from Ball State, are incredibly effective because nonprofits here in Muncie don't get very much funding, and they need to have workers who can do a lot of the tasks that our volunteers do for free because their budgets don't allow very much. Also, the students here at Ball State who volunteer are really excited about learning and immersing themselves in the community and learning from those experiences, outside of textbooks and outside of the classroom. So I think that we play a really big role in being enthusiastic and helping our community really thrive.
Are students that are involved in SVS more well-rounded?
I think so. Just personally, my experience has been, it's kind of all rolled over together each year or even each day. I'd come out of the classroom and say something about ethics, and I would go to my whatever nonprofit it was that I was volunteering with that semester, and those kind of themes and things would end up connecting right back to my experiences. So it's always kind of just rolled over. So I think that's made me very well-rounded. It's given me a lot of experience that I can talk about with my future employers, and it gives me a lot of things to work with too once I'm actually in my future career or in a professional setting in general, or just being able to sit down and talk one-on-one with somebody in a totally non-professional setting.
Are their GPAs higher than that of regular students?
I guess it would depend. In some ways, yes, because these students are really dedicated to being multitaskers, and they have a lot of, like I said, they have a lot of enthusiasm, and they're really willing to fully immerse themselves in the culture of Muncie and the culture of volunteering, the Ball State community, and into their education. So I think that in that sense, their GPAs are probably higher because they're really pushing for this effort. But at the same time, I think sometimes, especially our program coordinators who are the student leaders of our organization, their GPAs might not be because they take on so much and they're such go-getters that sometimes I feel like, at least from my own experience, I've let my grades slip a little bit because I was going so hard and wanting to have so many experiences and do so many things. So, I'm always being enriched, without a doubt, by my experiences in volunteering, but at some points I've just kind of let my grades go to the wayside because I've been so involved with the community, which is a good thing, I think. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's a great thing. But
are there any changes that you notice from the students after they are in the SVS program?
Yeah, our volunteers, they come out of the experience oftentimes being more willing to interact with not only one another, but with actual community leaders and members. It's really inspiring to see how people can go from being rather silent in the beginning, just like, say, during the travel to the site, and by the end of the day, they're really ready to tell you about what happened with little Jack, who was having a lot of trouble with his math homework, and how they kind of helped to implement this new learning strategy, or how this other student had a really hard time connecting with the elderly community until she figured out that they both love Scrabble, and so they had time to sit down and play Scrabble and challenge each other's words. And so it's kind of cool to see how each program can kind of develop each student.
Why did you get involved in SVS?
I got started in Student Voluntary Services my freshman year of college. I was a Citizen Scholar, which is an AmeriCorps program, and basically I had to work towards, throughout the whole school year, 300 hours of service, so that my freshman and my sophomore year, and that was what really got me in the door. I interviewed for it before my freshman year began and got the position, and it was really engaging because we had to do a lot of reflective activities, build a lot of different programs, work one-on-one with the graduate assistant, and so it really, started developing me into that leadership role. And then by my junior year, after I finished AmeriCorps, I became the Student Government Association representative for SVS on their executive board. And after that, this year, I'm the president now, so it's kind of just been stepping stones throughout my career.
That's a lot of nice stuff. When you attend SVS held events, how well do you think the SVS volunteers interact with the Muncie community?
I think that that's something that we're always working, trying to make better. Our students seem to be really excited about becoming a part of the Muncie community. I think that oftentimes we live in what everybody refers to as the Ball State bubble, and I think that when we have our community-based events, it really helps those students to reach out and become a part of the community rather than just being in the bubble. We're always trying to build new programs that are more exciting for students. For example, tomorrow we'll be having a big concert event, which is really just a time for us to, the main focus of it is to collect donations for a drive that we'll be hosting throughout the semester, but it's also to help bring together the art community and the music community and the volunteer community and Muncie, just the population in general. So we're really trying to promote unity and bring us all together as one big Muncie rather than each little part.
Have you ever had to remove an individual because they were not doing their job properly?
I've never had to remove an individual because they weren't completing their duties, but I have had to have many conversations in my time in a leadership position with volunteers and PCs alike, just a one-on-one conversation about, how do you think you're fitting into your role, and what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your fears, what are things you want to build on. And I think that having those conversations rather than just removing people is what keeps our retention.
Is there any conversation that you might want to elaborate on that you had with a student?
Sure.
One that sticks out to you that you actually want to share?
Yeah, sure. There was one time when I was, well, I won't say where I was because I don't want to allude to any specific person, but one of my volunteers was having a hard time connecting with the people that we were working with. And she basically disconnected herself, and she would come to the program, I'll say consistently, but we have 12 weeks, 12 days of programs, and she came to about 9 of them. So that's, a good chunk to miss, but not too many. They like to see you come to everyone because it's a commitment, that you've made. So her attendance was kind of low, and when she would come out to the site, she had a hard time really putting herself out there. She wouldn't really talk, she wouldn't really give a full effort. And so one day after the program had finished and we had come back to school, I just sat down with her and I talked to her about what she was feeling when she came in, and she told me that she was just, really stressed and that things weren't really working out for her in that time frame. And then she ended up, as the conversation went on, and we started talking to each other as human beings, and rather than me being the leader and her being the volunteer, she felt more comfortable and ended up telling me about some family problems that were really affecting her. So I kind of gave her some strategies about how to work with that, and I told her basically that her time volunteering was her time to take herself away from everyday life, everyday stress. And so I think after that, I noticed her growth was a lot better, and she was more active, she was more involved, she showed up to the rest of the program commitment, and I think that being able to sit down with her one-on-one and treat her as an equal rather than me being the leader and her being the volunteer really helped her to reconnect with the program.
Great story.
Thank you.
That's a really great story. If you could change something about SVS, what would it be?
If I could change something about SVS, it would be our popularity. I think that we're a popular organization, but we're not the first place that people think about when they think that they have to volunteer. People think of volunteers and they automatically think of X organization, Y organization, Z organization, and we are the middleman to kind of help you connect with the one that best fits for you, to help log your hours so that you have a perfect reference when it comes time for you to fill out your resume or fill out an application. I think that SVS really works to build these students, and we're not seen really as that. And it's funny because we're right here in the student center. We're at a hot spot, and people think of SVS because they hear about it in class or they've just seen it before, but I feel like we're not as booming as we could be, and every year we're working harder and harder on that. And one of our biggest ways is with our social media.
What do you think is the most positive or beneficial outcome to the program that people experience?
Connections with just making human relationships, really building on those. becoming a piece of the Muncie community is really important when you're, especially as a college student, you know, you just think, oh, I'm here for college, I'm going to be here, and then once I graduate, I'm gone. Especially in a place in Muncie where it's not a big city, people don't see it as thriving, and we can make it thriving. So once students get into volunteering, or they get into whatever organization that they're passionate about, or whatever major, and they find their peace in the community, then they blossom.
Are the majority of the SVS participants from a specific major, or is there 2 or 3 that you think majority of them are from, or is it just widespread across all the majors?
A lot of people in their specific majors have volunteer requirements. Education, for example, they have a requirement. Greek life also has a requirement. So we do see them pretty often. There is also social work students who come and volunteer with us due to their requirements. But I would say overall, our numbers are pretty close. We have a lot of peer volunteers who just come up because they want to get involved with the community. So I'd say that it's pretty equally distributed.
And is there a certain organization that you guys help out the most, or is there a lot of them?
We have tons of programs. Really, honestly, we have over 100 programs, and those range from independent to coordinated programs. Coordinated programs meaning that the program coordinator, the student leader, will take you to your weekly program. Independent means you do it on your own. And then we also have one-time events. So we have a large array of programs to fit anybody's needs, really, whether they can commit weekly or once in a while. We go to a lot of organizations that we have a history with. For example, just to name a few, the Muncie Mission, which is an awesome organization to volunteer with. We have Minnetrista, area nursing homes, things like this that we've kind of kept around because we've had such good relationships with them, but we're always looking to build new opportunities and new new places to have volunteers go to so that they can have a more well-rounded experience.
Do you think the coordinated is better than the independent, or?
I think it just depends on the person, whatever they can fit into their schedule, whatever they're comfortable with. I think that there is definitely a true quality about the coordinated programs. You get to reach out to so many more students that way. I mean, you can be in a group from as little as 3 to as big as 15. So with the coordinated programs, you're becoming more involved with students around you. You're making connections with your peers, which is awesome. People you probably would never talk to before you join the program, and so it gives you a chance to kind of fraternize and make new connections you never had experienced. So,
thank you.
You're very welcome.